fit the circumstances. A woman in black slowly circling to our left. She had a digital camera and was already taking pictures of us. Of my family. Of Nana confronting Truscott. I shielded the kids as best I could, and then I really lit into James Truscott. "Don't you dare photograph my kids," I said. "Now you and your girlfriend get out of here. Please, go." Truscott raised his hands over his head, smiled cockily, and then backed away. "I have rights, just like you, Dr. Cross. And she's not my fucking girlfriend. She's a colleague. This is all business. It's a story." "Right," I said. "Well, just get out of here. This little boy is 3 years old. I don't want my family story in a magazine. Not now. Not ever." Chapter 7. We all tried to forget about James Truscott and his photographer for a while after that. Did pretty good, too. After umpteen different rides, a live show starring Mickey Mouse, 2 snacks, and countless carnival games, I dared to suggest we head back to the hotel. "For the pool?" Damon asked, grinning. We had glimpsed the 5,000-square-foot Neverland pool on our way to breakfast early that morning. When I got to the front desk, there was a message waiting. One that I was expecting. Inspector Jamila Hughes of the San Francisco Police Department was in town and needed a meeting with me. ASAP, if not sooner, said the note. That means move it, Buster. I gave my smiling regrets to the pool sharks and took my leave of them. After all, I was on vacation too. "Go get him, Daddy," Janny ribbed me. "It's Jamila, right?" Damon gave a thumbs up and a smile from behind the fogged lens of a snorkel mask. I crossed the grounds from the Disneyland Hotel to the Grand Californian, where I had booked another room. This place was an entirely American arts and crafts affair, much more sedate than our own hotel. I passed through stained-glass doors into a soaring lobby. Redwood beams rose 6 floors overhead, and Tiffany lamps dotted the lower level, which centered on an enormous fieldstone fireplace. I barely noticed any of it, though. I was already thinking about Inspector Hughes up in room 456. Amazing. I was on vacation. Chapter 8. Jamila greeted me at the door, lips first. A delicious kiss that warmed me from head to toe. I didn't get to see much of her wrap-around baby blue blouse and black pencil skirt until we pulled apart. Black sling-back heels put her at just about the right height for me. She sure didn't look like a homicide cop today. "I just got in," she said. "Just in time," I murmured, reaching for her again. Jamila's kisses were always like coming home. I started to wonder where all this was going, but then I stopped myself. "Just let it be, Alex." "Thanks for the flowers," she whispered against my ear. "All of the flowers. They're absolutely beautiful." I know. Not as beautiful as me." I laughed out loud. That's true. I could see over her shoulder that the hotel's concierge, Harold Larson, had done a good job for me. Rose petals were scattered in a swath of red, peach, and white. I knew there were a dozen long stems on the bedside table, a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in the mini-fridge, and a couple of carefully chosen CDs in the stereo. Best of Al Green, Luther Ingram, Tuck and Patty's Tears of Joy, some early Alberta Hunter. "I guess you really did miss me," Jamila said. Suddenly, the two of us were like one body, my mouth exploring hers, my hands holding her up from the rear. She already had my shirt half unbuttoned, and then I was reaching down her side for the zipper on her skirt. We kissed again, and her mouth was so fresh and sweet, like it always was. I danced her backward toward the bedroom. "How do you do this in heels?" I asked along the way. "You're right," she said, and kicked off her shoes even as her skirt slid to the floor. "We should light these candles," I said. "You want me to light them?" "Shh, Alex. It's already warm enough in here." "Yeah, it is." There wasn't a whole lot of talking for a while after that. Jamila and I always seemed to know what the other was thinking anyway. No conversation required at certain times. And I had missed her, even more than I thought I would. We pressed hard against each other, chest to chest, breathing in a nice rhythm. I rose and hardened against her leg, and I could feel moistness on my thigh. Then I reached up and held Jam's lovely face in both of my hands. I felt as though she could hear my thoughts. She smiled, drinking in what I hadn't even said. "Is that so?" she finally whispered, then winked. We had shared the mind-reading joke before. We kissed some more, and Jamila breathed deeply as I slowly worked my lips over her neck, her breasts, and her stomach. Everywhere I stopped, I wanted to stay, but just as badly, I couldn't wait to move on. She wrapped her arms around my back and rolled us both over on the bed. "How can you be so hard and so soft?" I asked. "It's a woman thing. Just enjoy it." But I could say the same about you. Hard and soft. A moment later, I was inside Jamila. She sat bolt upright, her head thrown back, her lower lip clenched tightly between her teeth. Sunlight reached through the bedroom window and slowly crossed her face. Absolutely gorgeous. All of it. We climaxed together. One of those ideals that everyone says is just an ideal, but it's not. Not always, anyway. She lay lightly down on top of me, the air slowly escaping from her lungs, our bodies melding as they always did. "You're going to be too tired for the rides tomorrow," she finally said and smiled. "Speaking of rides," I said. She started to laugh. "Promises, promises. But I always keep mine," I said. Chapter 9. I don't remember when Jamila and I eventually drifted off to sleep that afternoon, but I was woken up by my pager. My brand new pager. The one I got especially for this trip so only a few people would have the number. John Sampson, Director Burns's assistant, Tony Woods. That's about it. 2 people too many? So what now? I groaned. Sorry, Jam. I didn't expect this. I don't have to answer it. The last part I said half-heartedly. We both knew better. Jamila shook her head. "I'll tell you a little secret. I've got mine here in the nightstand. Go ahead, Alex. Answer the call." Yeah. Answer the call. Sure enough, it was the director's office reaching out from D.C. I picked up the bedside phone and dialed the number while lying there flat on my back. I finally looked at my watch. 4 p.m. The day had flown, which was a good thing. Sort of. Until now, anyway. "Ron Burns," I mouthed to Jamila while I was on hold. "This can't be good. This has to be bad." She nodded. A call from the top of the pyramid had to mean some kind of serious business that couldn't wait. Whatever it was, I didn't want to hear about it right now. Ron Burns himself came on the line. This was getting worse by the second. "Alex, is that you?" "Yes, sir," I sighed. "Just Jamila and me. And you." "I appreciate you taking this call. I'm sorry to be bothering you. I know it's been a while since your last real vacation." He didn't know the half of it, but I kept quiet and listened to what the director had to say. Alex, there's a kind of sticky case in L.A. I probably would have wanted to send you out on this one anyway. The fact that you're in California is a lucky coincidence. Lucky, of course, being a relative concept. I shook my head back and forth. This was sounding really bad. What's the case? This lucky coincidence that I'm out here. You ever heard of Antonia Schiffman? That got my attention a little. The actress? Sure. She was murdered this morning, along with her limo driver. It happened outside her home. Her family was inside sleeping. The rest of the family, they're okay? I asked. No one else was hurt, Alex. Just the actress and her driver. I was a little confused. Why's the Bureau on this? LAPD request a consult? Not exactly. Burns paused. If you wouldn't mind keeping this between the two of us, Antonia Schiffman was friends with the president, and a close friend of his wife. The president has asked for our help on the murder investigation. Oh. I saw that Ron Burns wasn't quite as immune to Washington pressure as I had thought. Even so, he was the best thing that had happened to the FBI in a long time, and he'd already done me more than one favor in my short tenure. Of course, I had done him a few good turns, too. Alex, just do a quick in and out on this one. I'd really appreciate it. We'll have you back with your family for dinner. A late dinner, anyway. Just check out the murder scene for me. I want to hear your take on what happened. I took the liberty of... They're waiting for you to get there. I finished the call and cast a look at Jamila. Well, the good news is I don't have to fly anywhere. It's something in L.A. The actress Antonia Schiffman was murdered today. She pushed up next to me in bed. Oh, that's terrible, Alex. I liked her movies. She always seemed nice. That's really a shame. Well, at least I'll get to dish with Nana and the kids while you're out of earshot. I'll meet you all back here for dinner. Might be a little late. My flight's not until 11, Alex, but I have to be on the late flight out. I kissed her, just a little sheepishly, ashamed that I'd given in to Burns. But what choice did I have? Go make California safe. Safer, she said. I'll keep an eye on Mickey and Donald to make sure they don't go postal. What a thought. Chapter 10.
The storyteller drove right by the Schiffman murder scene. Right by the crime scene. He knew he shouldn't have come out here again, but he couldn't help himself. In a way, he thought this might even be a good idea. So he stopped his car and got out to look around. What an incredible rush it turned out to be. He knew the house, knew the ritzy neighborhood in Beverly Hills really well. Miller Place. Suddenly, he almost couldn't catch his breath, and he loved the feeling of danger, of anything can happen now. And it definitely could. He was the storyteller, after all. The press was everywhere, along with the LAPD, of course, and even some police brass. And he'd had to park about a quarter of a mile away. I was fine with him. Safer. Smarter. A minute or so later he joined in with fans and other looky-loos, making the pilgrimage to the shrine where poor Antonia had checked out of the rat race this morning. "I can't believe she's dead," a young couple was saying as they walked arm in arm, heads bowed as if they'd lost a real loved one. What was with some people? Could anybody be this nuts? "I can believe she's dead," he wanted to tell them. "First I put one in her head. Then I hacked her face until her own mother wouldn't recognize her. Believe it or not, there's even a method to my madness. There is a grand plan, and it's a beauty." But he didn't speak to the creepy bereaved. Just made his way to the pearly gates of the Schiffman house. He stood there respectfully with the others, probably a couple of hundred mourners. The Beverly Hills sideshow was just getting started, just getting warmed up. Man, this was some huge story. And guess what?